Unwinnable games aren't fun. That's what Oliver the octopus said. Susie the stingray takes offense. We had the same rules, and they lost the game. Is it really my fault I'm the best? When we are good at something, when we are succeeding, and the same rules apply to everyone, it's hard to notice or even question that there have been ways we were set up to succeed and others were not. The same rules will not always be fair, the story tells us. Everyone deserves what they need to succeed, to belong. That's equity. That wasn't just our time for all ages stories, friends. As is so often true with children's stories, they use sweet characters somewhat loosely rooted in the natural world to speak to complex issues. Equality is not the same as equity. The same treatment for everyone misses the point of wanting everyone to be able to play, of wanting everyone to belong, of being in this together. This is central to our religious tradition. It is why one of our core religious values is equity, and that value, like all values, are fueled by love. One of our current theologians, the Reverend Dr. Sherry Perdom, puts it like this: we, Unitarian Universalists, understand that every person possesses a spark of the divine in a cosmos where all life is sacred. We understand this world filled with these people to be the locus of religious life. We understand there is a mandate emerging from our theological heritage to dismantle the structures and systems which silence, harm, and exploit human beings and the varied ecosystems of our planet, as well as to work to create just and sustainable communities without barriers to belonging. Equity, as Tara told us, is never accidental. It's never accidental. It takes noticing and listening and rearranging to remove barriers of belonging. You know, it's hard, right? We see Susie the stingray, and we hope that we're not so focused on winning, on besting another or a group, that we choose to compete against those who have clear barriers to being on the same playing field. Being fully sighted, playing darts with blind fish strikes us as inherently unfair, I hope. I wonder if you remember this.
And no overdraft fees are another reason banking with Capital One is an even easier decision than this.
I'll take Barkley.
Yes! Yep, even easier than that. What's in your wallet?
Now, we've had to assure the choir that we are actually not sponsored. This sermon is not being brought to you by Capital One. I pretty much promise you. But I wonder if you remember that, because, you know, I think we see it and we shake our heads and we're like, come on, Susie Stingray. Come on, Charles. Our sense of fairness can hardly believe that someone would want to compete in that way. And yet it is a human thing that can happen when we feel cast out or less than. We feed our egos by stacking the deck or ignoring that the deck has been stacked for us. We use what we can to try and fit in, to feel better about ourselves, to achieve our goals. The way it works for us, when the way works for us, we say it's because we're the best, or we worked hard, or we put ourselves through school, or we earned it. And it's certainly not that we didn't work. It's just that we have failed, some of us, to notice that we had some advantages. And unwittingly, we allow our vision to be shaped by a culture that teaches the primacy of the individual and the importance of winning. Witness the lead into that commercial that we saw. Some choices are just easy, we're told. And we pan to the basketball court where the kids are picking teams, and the first captain looks at the other kids and then sees Charles Barkley and says, "I pick Charles, who is easily 2 feet taller than they are." And for those who don't know, a Hall of Fame basketball player. Then the ad goes back to the business. Some choices, we're told, are just easy. And we laugh, right? And it's kind of foolish, and God bless Charles Barkley, because he really sells his desire and ego to be picked first, even in this. But it strikes me a little sad. It strikes me a little sad because by all appearances, this is a random playground on a random day, and you might think that the kids are just there to have some fun on a warm day, but fun seems to fade quickly when there is a chance to have an outrageous advantage, to not just win, but to dominate. And I wonder, shouldn't we be just a little bit bummed? Shouldn't we be just a little bit bummed out that as the kid with the first pick scans the other kids, she doesn't say, "Of course, I want to pick Charles Barkley, but that wouldn't be a fair game." I mean, truly, isn't that the response we'd like? Doesn't the easy answer bother us a little bit? I hope it does, because we all know unwinnable games are not fun. We all know winning isn't the most important thing in every moment. We all know we can't win all the time. We all know that there are some things that will defeat us in our lifetimes. People we love will leave, some by choice, some by fate. Each of us has been marked by death, divorce, and departure. Such is the way of being a mortal with all our gifts and frailties. And yet, and still, and forever, we need each other. We need one another, and we long to belong to each other. Our faith tradition teaches us that. It tells us there is a spark of the divine in each of us and all of us, and we are all connected, and all of our lives are entwined with all other living things. Given all of that, we should want to remove the barriers to belonging. You know, that is actually why that composer wrote that piece that the choir just sang, Kyle Peterson. Here's what he said about that piece. "Too many times," he said, "too many times in my own personal experience, I allowed myself to be unduly influenced by the opinions and expectations of others. And as a junior and senior high school teacher and coach, I saw the pressure play out daily on my students. And now, as the father of young children, I watch as they too struggle with expectations that the world throws at them. Does the world say, names a few of those pressures, hoping that by naming them, they might hold a bit less power over us. You know, music is so good at putting us in touch with our own pain, at putting us in touch with our own pain while inspiring us to live aligned with something bigger than that pain. Peterson says that his song, quote, affirms the importance and power of friendship and the gift available to us to walk alongside somebody buckling under the weight of expectation, and to remind them that they are not alone, and to remind them that others do not get to define them. Not much for us to disagree with there, I trust, beloveds. Hopefully, all of us, each of us have known what it is to give the gift of invitation, of connection to someone who is in the internal struggles of not enoughness or the external struggles of being cast out. And equally, hopefully, each of us in our own times of struggle has had somebody reach toward us with even the thinnest of lifelines to remind us that we are not alone. That's important. Those are important, life-saving moments. And as a dad and a teacher, Peterson's world particularly is reflecting on his experience as a kid, on his experience as a teacher. He is flooded with the memories of the times in which he followed the crowd rather than owning the fullness of who he was, differences and all. But I don't want the sweetness, and it was sweet and it was beautiful, but I don't want the sweetness and beauty of Peterson's song to rest in us solely as a call to friendship. I want us to listen a little deeper. Does the world say you don't look the right way? Does the world say that you're not enough? Does the world say that you don't think the right things? Does the world say that you're not worth the time? See, I find myself in those lyrics for sure. I can see myself in my mind's eye as a chubby little redhead kid, working class, queer, who struggled to read and to speak the way others did. And in my mind's eye, I see so many others, too, in the stories and the struggles I have witnessed and heard. Probably you're experiencing that also. But when I get out of my own feels, I think, why does the world say that stuff? Why does the world say that stuff? How come we live in a world that's so dang judgy? That's not the world I want to live in. That's not the world I want to leave behind. That's not the world that is shaped by my or our religious values. And I think about how easy it is to forget that, to accept that this is the way it is and has to be. That the only solution is to hope and to strive for some kind of belonging, some sort of little belonging for ourselves, and then from that small place to maybe extend just a little bit of kindness to somebody else. It's human. But our religion says, don't settle. Our religion says, don't settle for finding a small corner of belonging for yourself. That's not the win. It's still an unwinnable game for too many. And our faith reminds us to look at the system and not presume that we have to accept its limitations, nor surrender to its power. Our faith tells us to create just and sustainable communities where the barriers to belonging have been removed. And you hear in Tara's words the difference it makes. And you know the difference it made for you. That's equity. Different words, it's becoming a people that is no longer complicit in systems and structures that cast folks out. Where some are okay and some aren't, where some are worthy and others are dispensable. We need one another. Everyone is worthy and all are included. Now I'm clear, and so are you, that's not the world we're living in. But that should not stop us from working toward it. Christian writer Nancy Ortberg shared an important story about her own home. She said, one evening, my oldest daughter came home from a Sunday evening worship service. Let's just pause there. See you tonight. Sunday evening worship service. You see, the daughter had been deeply affected by the experience of church that day, and she'd written something on a piece of paper that was really powerful. Here it is. This is what that young daughter said. Help me not to be okay just because everything is okay with me. Help me to not be okay just because everything is okay with me. And Nancy was so moved by that she wrote the words and posted them on the corkboard in their kitchen, so that the whole family would remember that in community, it's always we. If someone else is not okay, then I am not okay. That's equity. That is the work and practice of becoming a people. And as Tara told us, equity never happens accidentally, and there is no finish line. Just because we are okay, included, belong, doesn't mean everyone else does. And if someone else isn't included, then I'm not okay. It is really the Bantu word called Ubuntu. Have you heard of that? I am because you are because I am because we are. I only exist in community, and I can only be whole if my community is whole. Now let's be real. As a nation, we are struggling mightily with that just now. It seems there are a handful of billionaires and politicians who have decided that they no longer have to even pretend to care about the values of democracy or freedom or inclusion or equity or sacredness of human life or relationships. The evidence of that is hard to escape. It is everywhere. And the story, though, the story of greed and inhumanity in concentrated powers and principalities is as old as time itself. The bigger tragedy, beloveds, the bigger tragedy is that there are so many of us, just regular folks, whether we're working class or middle class or white folks or people of color, folks across multiple differences have given in. There is a capitulation or a satisfaction in the small wins of individual success. There seems to be an embrace of settling for games that are unwinnable for some. And sadly, there seems to be a willingness to believe that the only answer to the problems that beset our time, whether the skyrocketing cost of living in this era of late-stage capitalism, the only answer to crises of loneliness and mental health, the only answer to the collapse of communities and interconnection, the only answer to the terror and scarcity of these days is to blame immigrants, people of color, trans people, and queer people. Watch the comments, and I encourage you to only do this occasionally and sparingly, like 3 minutes is my limit. Read the comments on any social media post about the latest ICE rallies, and you will watch the blame topple out, pour out. What's more, you will witness folks rally and unite around the hate. How quickly, how horribly quickly and visibly that happens, while uniting around love remains elusive. True. And yet, and still, and always, the faithful work remains. Despite what others are doing, despite the lack of care in pockets of our world, despite people rallying around blame and hatred, the task before us is to become a people, to become a people, to become a people. And that means that we cannot settle for small individual wins. We get to celebrate for a moment, Sure, okay. But we cannot capitulate or stay silent while the problems in our world are laid at the feet of the people. We cannot capitulate or remain silent while the problems in our world are laid at the people for whom this was never a winnable game. Belonging has been dangled as a possibility for some, if and only if impossible conditions were met. No. No. Friends, no. The game needs to be changed. The game needs to be changed. I offer you these words from Dr. Jamar Tisby. When the margins become the center, that is to say, when the people who have been marginalized by what the world says, when those folks become the center, our whole calculus changes. Our whole calculus changes. And if you won't give that man an amen, I will. Amen. Equity, inclusion, becoming a people never happens accidentally. Now, I know these days, these are the days in which grief and despair are wrapped tightly about us. They are a second skin if they're not even our first. And we can be tempted, any of us, to put our own oxygen mask on and wait for this time to pass. Pray that it will end. But part of becoming a people is helping everyone get oxygen and questioning why the hell they didn't have it in the first place. How hard is equity? It's so hard. And it's shocking that we aren't already there. It's shocking to recognize that we are also part of the problem. It's shocking to know that we don't know all there is to know. And we don't. We had a long conversation in our ministry team a week ago about our final hymn and whether we should sing it. It is a beautiful hymn. It's one of ours from our gray hymnals, so it's been with us a long time, and it's so beautiful. And the lyrics speak to the prophets of Amos and Isaiah. But the words were problematic. You see, it's we'll build a land. We'll build the land. And our ministers of color and our religious professionals of color and our members of color have said, yo, white people, quit singing that, because you want to know how this land was built? On our backs. On our backs. And we wrestled and we debated and we argued and we were in the work of equity. And finally, we decided, because Brother Baker is not only dedicated to data, but all small print. He read the comments and learned that another composer, Mark Miller, had gotten permission to change the lyrics. So we'll sing, we'll build a love. We'll build a love and feel how different that makes that song. We'll sing it in just a bit. I'm going to close with a prayer from Reverend Brian Baker. I want you to see these words as I offer them. The world is now too dangerous and too beautiful for anything but love. May your eyes be so blessed you see God in everyone. Your ears so you hear the cry of the poor. May your hands be so blessed that everything you touch is a sacrament. Your lips so you speak nothing but the truth with love. May your feet be so blessed you run to those who need you. And may your heart be so opened, so set on fire that your love changes everything. May our hearts be so open, so set on fire that our love, our care, our intention, our attention, may our hearts be so open, so set on fire that our love changes everything, and we can at last become a people where all are included. And we are always more whole because of it. May it be so. All are my relations. Shanti. Shalom. Amen.